My name is Margot, and I never imagined a single phone call could upend my entire world. It was a quiet Saturday morning, and I was wrapped in a blanket on my couch, sipping coffee, when my phone rang. Mom's face appeared on the screen, and I answered cheerfully, unaware of what was about to happen. "Margot, sweetheart," she began, her voice strangely stiff. "Your father and I want you to know how much we love you." Something in the way she spoke made me straighten my posture. "What's happening, Mom?" I asked carefully. She took a breath. "As you know, your dad's 60th birthday party is next weekend at Riverside Restaurant." "I've had it in my planner for months," I said. "That's the thing, dear," she continued. "We've been going over the guest list, and unfortunately, we have to limit attendance. Important business contacts will be there, and we've decided it would be best if you didn't come to this particular celebration." I almost dropped my coffee mug. "Excuse me." "Don't worry," she added quickly. "We see you all the time anyway. Your father just wants to dedicate the evening to people who are crucial for his business. We'll have you over later for a barbecue." My heart was pounding. "Are Jake and Melanie still invited?" I demanded, referring to my older siblings. Mom hesitated. "Well, yes, but they're not business partners," I pointed out, my tone sharper than I meant. "No, but Margot, you don't even enjoy big events. You're always so reserved at parties. You like your space, don't you?" I gripped the phone tighter. "Since when do you and Dad get to define what I enjoy?" There was a shuffle on the line. Then Dad's voice boomed through. "Margot, be reasonable. Your brother and sister need opportunities to connect with the business community. One of them will run the company someday." And there it was, the confirmation of what I'd always suspected but had never been told so bluntly. I was not included in their plans for the future. I didn't respond. I ended the call and sat there, staring at nothing, while my coffee grew cold. Their message was unmistakable. I wasn't significant enough. I was dispensable. After 20 minutes of numb disbelief, I called my best friend, Lisa. "They did what?" she exclaimed when I explained. "They uninvited me. I guess I'm not worthy of a seat at my own dad's birthday dinner." "That's outrageous, Margot. You need to forget them for a while. They don't deserve any more of your energy." As she spoke, I glanced out the window and felt my breath catch. There in the courtyard was a sleek black SUV wrapped with a giant red bow. The very car I'd saved for over 2 years to buy as my father's gift. I'd skipped vacations, worked overtime, and planned every detail with the dealership to make sure it was perfect. Now it sat there, a monument to how foolish I'd been. Strangely, a sense of calm came over me. An idea began to form. "Lisa, I'll call you back," I said and hung up. I immediately called my boss. "Mark, you know that vacation time I've been delaying for a year? Would it be possible to take 2 weeks starting Monday?" "Perfect timing," he said. "You wrapped up the West Side project yesterday. Enjoy your break." I rang Lisa back. "Can you come over right now with your camera gear?" I asked. "I'm keeping the car, and we're going on a road trip." 40 minutes later, she arrived with all her equipment. Her eyes widened at the SUV. "You were giving this to your dad?" I said. "Not anymore. It's mine. And tomorrow, you and I are driving it across the country." Her face brightened. "Seriously? I'll bring my pro camera and shoot landscapes for my portfolio." "Exactly. You take the pictures. I'll drive. And neither of us will think about my family." Lisa grinned and lifted her camera. "Let's start by getting some photos of you with your new ride." For the next hour, I posed next to the SUV, leaning against the door, sitting on the hood, pretending to drive, while she captured dozens of shots. I chose the best one. Me standing confidently by the car, sunglasses on, hand on my hip, looking like I owned the world. Taking a deep breath, I posted it on Instagram with the caption, "This was meant to be a gift." But when people don't want you at their party, you keep the present for yourself. Within minutes, comments started pouring in. What happened? Who wouldn't want you there? Spill the tea. I ignored them all, feeling the first spark of satisfaction. An hour later, my phone rang again. Margot, what do you think you're doing? Take that post down now. You're embarrassing the family. She snapped. Then her voice softened. Listen, your father and I have been talking. We'd love you to come to the party after all. And please bring that wonderful gift. I let out a small laugh. No thanks, Mom. I already have plans for both the car and those dates. I hung up before she could respond. Turning to Lisa, I said, pack your bags. We leave at dawn. The next morning, I woke before my alarm. The thrill of our spontaneous road trip had me buzzing. Lisa arrived at 6 a.m. sharp, 2 huge suitcases and all her photography gear in tow. Ready for this? She asked, throwing her bags into the spacious trunk. More than ready, I said, sliding behind the wheel. The leather interior still had that new car smell. Dad would have loved it. That thought stung, but I pushed it away. We pulled out just as the sun rose. The SUV drove like a dream. Smooth, powerful. For the first time since yesterday's call, I felt free. Where to first? Lisa asked, setting up her dashboard camera mount. I figured we'd head east, stop at Eagle Ridge Overlook, then maybe drive down to Lakeside Point. After that, we'll see. The miles passed quickly. Lisa snapped photos of the sunrise over the hills while I focused on the open road. By noon, we had crossed into the next state. Let's stop here, Lisa suggested as we approached Eagle Ridge. The light is perfect. We pulled in. The view was breathtaking. Rolling hills, a glassy lake reflecting the blue sky. Lisa set up her tripod, adjusting lenses. Get in the frame, she called. I stood by the SUV, wind in my hair, as she clicked away. These are gorgeous, she said, showing me the shots. Back in the car, I posted my favorite. Me leaning on the hood, the view behind me. Some people don't value gifts. That's okay. I'm putting mine to better use. More comments flooded in, but I didn't care about anyone's opinion except my parents. By that evening, my phone was buzzing non-stop. I ignored it. As dusk fell, we checked into a modest motel. I'm starving, Lisa said, collapsing onto one of the twin beds. Let's grab dinner. At the diner, over burgers and fries. My phone rang again, from an unfamiliar number. Hello, Margot. It's Robert Daniels. I nearly choked. Robert Daniels, Dad's oldest friend and the company's main investor. One of the few adults who'd always treated me kindly. Mr. Daniels. Hi. This is unexpected. I've seen your posts, he said gravely. I spoke to your father. He was evasive. Can you tell me what happened? So I did. The whole story. I didn't exaggerate. The truth spoke for itself. I understand, he said when I finished. That's not how a family should behave. No, it's not. I whispered, my throat tight. Thank you for your honesty. Enjoy your trip. Drive safely. When I hung up, Lisa looked up from her burger. What was that about? I'm not sure, I said, but I think Dad's about to get an uncomfortable phone call. 3 hours later, Mom called again. Have you lost your mind? She yelled. Robert Daniels just told your father he won't be attending the party. He was our biggest investor. What did you say to him? The truth. I said evenly. That you didn't consider me important enough to include. You have to call him back and fix this. Do you realize what you've done? I understand perfectly, I said, and hung up. Lisa's eyes were wide. Wow, she murmured. That escalated fast. It's not my fault they don't like the consequences of their choices, I said, though a twinge of guilt prickled at me. But it faded quickly. They'd made their decision when they decided I didn't matter. The next morning, we drove to Lakeside Point. The SUV handled the winding roads beautifully. This car is amazing, Lisa said, adjusting her seat. Your dad's loss. Exactly, I said, pressing the gas a little harder. We reached the overlook before noon. The view was even more stunning than the photos online. Lisa spent an hour capturing every angle. This one's perfect, she said, showing me a picture of me on the hood, sunglasses on, looking carefree. I posted it immediately. Testing out the gift someone refused. Working beautifully so far. Within minutes, more notifications. But the only one I cared about came through. Stop this childish behavior. You're humiliating the family. I felt lighter as we pulled away. For the first time, I wasn't chasing their approval. I was simply living my own life. Our road trip kept going, each mile putting more space between me and all the family drama I'd left behind. Lisa and I settled into a comforting rhythm. Drive until something beautiful appeared. Pull over. Take photos. Share a few online. And then keep moving. I stopped checking my phone as often. I no longer felt the need to see if my parents were calling. When Mom did ring, I simply let it go to voicemail. I was finished justifying myself. On the 5th day of our trip, Lisa captured incredible photos of me standing next to a famous waterfall. Water roared down the rocks behind me as I leaned against the SUV. A picture of calm. I posted the photo with the caption, "Finding peace where I least expected." My phone buzzed almost immediately. I assumed it was my mother again. But instead, it was a message from my sister. "Melanie, Dad's party is tomorrow night. You really ought to be there. Family is family." I showed Lisa the message. She snorted. That's rich coming from her. She didn't exactly defend you when they uninvited you. That evening, we stayed in a modest motel that at least had good Wi-Fi. While Lisa edited her photos, I scrolled through social media. My posts had gotten a lot of attention. Friends and extended family members had flooded the comments and my inbox with questions I still hadn't publicly explained. I preferred to let my parents sit with the discomfort of people asking them why I was missing. Calls were coming in from aunts, uncles, cousins. I ignored them all. The following morning marked exactly 1 week since we'd left. It was also Dad's birthday. Around lunchtime, my phone rang again. This time, I picked up. "Margot, this has gone too far," my mother said, her voice tight. "Do you understand what you've caused? Pastor Williams called last night. He spoke with Robert and knows everything. He's refusing to attend the party. He said he's disappointed in us and supports you." I let out a laugh before I could stop myself. "So the pastor has a clearer sense of family values than you do," I said. "This isn't funny," she snapped. "Your father tried telling him you decided not to come, but Pastor Williams called him a liar. This is humiliating." "Margot, you know what's humiliating?" I asked, my voice calm. "Being told that strangers mattered more than your own daughter." I hung up. My pulse was racing, but I felt strangely relieved. Lisa watched me closely. "I'm okay," I said, before she could ask. We spent Dad's birthday exploring a national park. Lisa took photos of towering trees and mountain ridges. I shared a few on social media. Each caption was more pointed than the last. That night, over dinner at a proper restaurant in our hotel, I finally checked my sister's Instagram. The photos she'd posted from the party hit me harder than I expected. The banquet hall looked mostly empty. Instead of being full of business associates and friends, I counted maybe 15 people. My mother looked tense in every photo. My father's smile was forced. Melanie and Jake stood off to the side, as if they didn't know what to do with themselves. Lisa leaned over to see. "Wow," she murmured. "That's sad." But instead of pity, all I felt was vindication. "They made their choice," I said, putting my phone away. "They chose business over me. And in the end, they lost both." 2 days later, Aunt Patricia called. I picked up, bracing myself for another scolding. "Margot," she said without preamble, "your father is furious. He's been ranting about confronting you when you get back. I've never seen him this angry. Please be careful." When the call ended, I immediately dialed my landlord, Mrs. Grayson. "Hi, it's Margot Wilson," I said. "I need to change my apartment locks before I come back. My parents have spare keys." "Is everything all right, dear?" she asked gently. "Just a disagreement," I said. "Also, could you let the front desk know not to let my family into the building?" "Of course," she replied. "When will you return?" "In about 5 days." We kept traveling. Though my mood was more subdued, I found myself glancing over my shoulder often, half expecting my father to appear. 3 days later, my phone buzzed with a text from my brother. "You've ruined everything. Hope you're satisfied." I didn't respond. I simply held my phone out to Lisa. "What's he talking about?" she asked. "I'm guessing Dad's business isn't doing so well without Robert's investment." The idea should have made me feel worse. Instead, I felt detached. These were the consequences of their own decisions, not mine. The last couple of days on the road were quieter. We took fewer photos. I posted less often. The trip had already achieved what I needed. I was ready to go home. On our final night, just a few hours from my apartment, Lisa raised her glass over dinner. "To the best revenge road trip ever." I smiled. "It wasn't revenge," I said softly. "It was about boundaries. About not letting people treat me like I don't matter." Lisa nodded. "Well, mission accomplished. No one's ever going to forget this." The next afternoon, we pulled into my building's parking lot. The concierge hurried over as I stepped out. "Miss Wilson, welcome back," he said warmly. "Just so you know, we changed your locks as you asked." "Thank you, Charlie. Any trouble while I was gone?" He grew serious. 3 days ago, a young man and woman tried to get into your apartment. They were carrying spray paint cans. Turned them away. My brother and sister. They'd planned to vandalize my place. And yesterday," Charlie continued, "an older couple came by shouting about loyalty. I told them I'd call the police, and they left. My parents. They'd actually shown up to confront me." "Thank you for handling that," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Once inside my secured apartment, I looked out the window at my SUV. It wasn't just a vehicle anymore. It had become a symbol of my refusal to be ignored, of my insistence that I mattered. 3 months passed after our road trip. Life settled into a new routine, but everything felt different. I threw myself into my work, took on fresh projects, and received praise from clients. I hadn't spoken to my parents or siblings since returning. At first, they called and texted constantly. Eventually, the messages stopped. The silence was both a relief and a weight. Lisa's photos turned out beautifully. She hung them in her studio and sold prints to interior designers. We joked that my family drama had kick-started her landscape photography career. One afternoon, I was checking emails when a news alert caught my eye. Wilson Construction scales back riverfront development amid funding issues. My hands shook as I clicked the headline. The article detailed how Dad's company had been forced to cancel a major project due to lack of financing. They weren't bankrupt yet, but it was described as a major setback. I didn't have to wonder who had pulled out. Robert Daniels. Guilt, satisfaction, and sadness all churned in my stomach. I closed the article without finishing. That evening, my phone rang with a number I didn't recognize. Hello, Margot. It's Aunt Claire. We'd never been close. Hi, I said cautiously. I've been asked to try and talk some sense into you, she began. Your parents are suffering because of your vindictive behavior. I took a steadying breath. I wasn't vindictive, Aunt Claire. I told the truth about what happened. I didn't exaggerate. You humiliated them on social media. You cost your father an important investor. I never asked Robert Daniels to withdraw. He decided that on his own after seeing how they treated me. Family issues should stay private, she insisted. You acted selfishly. No, I said, my voice stronger than I expected. They acted selfishly when they decided I wasn't good enough to be part of the celebration. They made one mistake, she said coldly. It wasn't just one mistake, I replied. It was years of being treated as less than Jake and Melanie. This was simply the first time they said it outright. Silence fell. I didn't call anyone to complain, I added. I shared my experience, and people formed their own opinions. Your parents deserved better, she said stiffly. So did I. I ended the call. That night, I sat on my balcony, watching the lights of the city. All the feelings I'd been trying to bury came rushing back. Had I gone too far? Should I have kept quiet? Was their business collapsing my fault? Then my phone rang again. I almost ignored it, afraid it was another relative. But the screen said Mrs. Grayson. Margot, I'm sorry to call so late, she said gently. There's a gentleman here who insists on speaking with you. He says he's your father's friend, Mr. Daniels. My heart skipped. It's okay, Mrs. Grayson. Please send him up. A few minutes later, I opened the door. Robert Daniels stood there, looking exactly as I remembered. Tall, dignified, kind eyes. Margot, he said warmly. Thank you for seeing me. Of course, I said, motioning for him to come inside. What brings you here? He met my gaze. I wanted you to know that your father's business problems weren't entirely because of you. I swallowed. What do you mean? I'd been thinking of reducing my investment for some time, he explained. Your father has been making increasingly reckless decisions. What happened with you was simply the last straw, not the only reason. Relief washed through me. Thank you for telling me that. Your father blames you completely, he said gently. Of course he does, I replied, unable to keep the bitterness from my voice. I also came because I admire what you did, he continued. Standing up for yourself couldn't have been easy. I blinked back tears. It wasn't. I still wonder if I overreacted. You didn't, he said firmly. Family should never make you feel unwanted. After he left, I felt lighter than I had in weeks. Vindicated. Everything I'd done, the trip, the posts, the new locks, had been necessary. The next morning, I drove the SUV over to Lisa's studio. The car felt different now, more than transportation. It was a reminder that I mattered. You look different today, Lisa said, raising her coffee. I feel it, I admitted. More at peace. And your family? She asked. I shrugged. Maybe someday we'll find a way to be in each other's lives again, but only if it's on healthier terms. I'm not going back to being invisible. Visibility, Lisa said, clinking her mug to mine. And to real family values, I added with a small smile. Respect. Honesty. Treating people like they matter. That night, driving home along the coast with the windows down and music loud, I thought about how this car, once meant as a gift, had given me something better. The courage to stand up for myself. And the knowledge that I didn't need the approval of anyone who couldn't see my worth, even if those people were my own family.